All right, good folks. It is Thursday, another beautiful night to talk some pro wrestling. And tonight here at the Big O Belt Wrestling Podcast, we're going to give our thoughts about NXT Battleground. Rumors has sparked that Ricochet may be leaving WWE, and Clash of the Castle is this weekend. We look forward to that. All that, some rumors and more on tonight's episode of the Big Go Belt Wrestling Podcast. Stay tuned.
Big Go Belt, 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 Big Go Belt. All I really want is that Big Go Belt, 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 Big Go Belt. All I really need is that Big Go Belt.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Big O Belt Wrestling Podcast. I'm Najir, alongside of Silly Sellers and the giant crab himself, Jamal. Gentlemen, welcome back.
How you feeling, man?
It's all good. Ain't no complaints here. Excited to get into all things pro wrestling while I'm looking at my phone, looking at physical media, because you folks need to support that out there. You folks who are movie lovers, support your physical media.
Nobody cares.
What is that? I don't even know what that is anymore.
You own it when you own it, all right? When it's in your hands, you own it, all right?
I'd rather rent it from Netflix.
Say that to my VHS collection.
But nonetheless, yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. And as I mentioned in the opening, we are going to talk going back to last weekend with NXT Battleground, talking about the rumors this week with Ricochet potentially leaving WWE. His contract is up in July. He looks like he has been written off TV due to a little spot with Braun Breaker and WWE Clash at the Castle this Saturday. So let's go back to NXT Battleground, which was at the UFC Apex in the fight capital of the world, Las Vegas. We had tons of good matches. And first of all, before we can get into that, I mean, let's just talk about how monumental of a day it was, because one, you had WWE officially doing business with the UFC, you know, with all the name drops and such. So they were at the UFC Apex Arena. You know, they who would have ever thought, if you are a UFC fan, who would have ever thought that place could be razzle dazzled up? Because, you know, during the pandemic, that was their main location for their fights, and obviously no crowds. And it looks like the Performance Center set for the UFC. But the WWE comes in and do what they do best, and they added some seating, and it legitimately became a venue. A little smaller venue than we are accustomed to in terms of the ring to guardrail or barricade spacing and whatnot. But for what it's worth, it worked out. So for you all, just what was your excitement, your thoughts, your reactions to them being in the UFC Apex Arena? And if they decide to circle back around, which obviously they got to, any plans on wanting to go? Sellers?
For me, I would say I would definitely want to go. One of the things I would say, it felt like an indie show maximized to the level of production of WWE. And sometimes when you have that old feeling of, we've all been to our local promotions and stuff like that. Jamal, I know you advertise it every single week on the show. And it felt like, man, this felt like a good, intimate atmosphere that saw big scale names and a big scale wrestling being a version of WWE. And I felt like this is something I would definitely try to look or go to in the future, because I think it really, you know, the atmosphere or just the venue of the event went very well. I would like to see what they can do as far as more shows in it. Maybe if WWE put their main roster pay-per-view, like for a Raw or SmackDown, or maybe a special live or premium live event for that type of venue, how would that atmosphere go when you just go to that classic old school, you know, intimate crowd? So I'm a fan of it. I thought it was different. Like you said, it's very similar to the Performance Center, but I think it's something that they can grow in and build for the future.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on a lot of your comments here. Put my phone down now that I had to find what I was looking for there. So you feel like, I don't know how the intro music got there again, but okay. Look, I got some technical dip. Am I there? Am I there? Y'all see me?
You're frozen, but you're here.
Okay, let's.
Oh,
I'm back. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, everybody. All right, let me play devil's advocate to your comments here. So you said it feels small and intimate, like an indie show, but obviously with a bigger budget, thus the WWE inside of a UFC arena. So I mean, one, for the DNA of NXT, that's always been sort of its style, whether it's rocking at Full Sail or down in the Performance Center, wherever it is. That's always been their thing, is that they like to keep their smaller venues max. So you're always going to get that. But as I mentioned, the ring to guardrail or barricade proportion was much smaller than we've seen it, because that just shows you the limitations of that arena.
Yeah.
So you say if they came back and wanted to do it, would the main roster be interested in doing like a SmackDown Raw there? I mean, they'll easily pack it, but I don't think it doesn't serve that crowd, because obviously when you go to Raw and SmackDown, it's not only just about the name of the venue or the location of the venue, but you do have to set up like the stage, and the stage takes additional room, and it has that more granular feel than this any other house show. Now if they ran house shows there through whatever reasons, I could see that, but for me, I think it served its purpose. I was completely shocked at the upgrades that they were able to do in that location. Again, have seen UFC cards come out there in complete silence too, which is kind of eerie, pandemic or not. But yeah, to kind of see it live, to kind of see that Full Sail or the NXT family energy being brought into that arena, and it being completely maxed out. I mean, I would just like to see that be a regular thing. And actually, I would like to see more pay-per-views that caters to that combat sports sort of aesthetic back there. So like Battleground makes sense. What's another one that they could use? I don't know, but I would like to see that be like sort of the gimmick for that arena, because after the Lola Vice and Shayna Baszler match, they had like their mini UFC press conference where they had the UFC background and the mics and whatnot. So like cross branding to the T, and I'm all for that. So that's kind of where I want to kind of see that go.
And then we just add to that, you said a key word and a gimmick, and I think a gimmick is a good way to put it. And maybe I'm just on a throwback phase right now. I am watching, Who Killed WCW, that's on Vice each week, and one of the things that kind of referenced that is I would like to see, and I know you said this is like a cross promotion between WWE and UFC. I would like to see more of these gimmick style settings where, let's say, if WWE did a show like at the Mall of America, or WWE did a show like at these different size venues, that's not your big capacity like arenas that you would normally see on a Raw, SmackDown, Premium Live event, but something that's a different feel that brings a little throwback to what they used to do or what they had to do based on when some of these companies were starting up in their time. And it just gave me that little throwback feel to it.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamal.
What's that? I don't watch UFC. I've never watched it. I don't get it. I don't care about the UFC at all. With that said, though, it's important for WWE and the UFC to completely overlap in some way. This is what I've been saying that AEW should do with their Warner Brother properties since they signed the contract. Someone somewhere that's not really a UFC fan, that is a WWE fan, that follow them into the to the Apex Zone or whatever the hell it's called, and went, oh, this is interesting, show me more. Somebody that's not a UFC fan has been talking about it, they heard about a thing, and then they went, oh, I didn't really check up on WWE since, whenever. Tell me more. Somebody somewhere, the cross-pollination worked. Now, for me, I actually didn't watch the show, not because I didn't want to, but the Mets are in town. It's always going to be baseball over wrestling. With that said, though, would I want to see this happen again? Honestly, no. I think the venue, it only seats, 1,000? If at max? So I'm not super huge on the venue aesthetics or anything like that. I don't really care if I've been outside for wrestling. I've been indoors for wrestling. I've been in a football stadium. I've been in a hockey rink. I've been at the state fair. As long as the matches are good, I'm willing to overlook the fact that it smells like elephant ass in here. But if it's, but the question is, can I get a ticket? That's what NXT is actually doing the work. We've been talking about them, for a long time, for consistently for the first time in years, as to what we're interested in, what we interested in them from next. And now that there is this buzz, there is this gravitas about NXT now. NXT is back, if you want to call it that way. Well, can I get a ticket if I go to Vegas and this place only seats 500 to 1,000? When they were running house shows or they were running live events outside of the Orange Circuit in Florida, those places seated 2,500 to 5,000.
It was still the same battle though. You go back to the core when NXT Black and Gold was at its hottest. It was definitely a little bit of a hassle in terms of getting those tickets. So
no, exactly right. But notice that I didn't mention Full Sail. Because getting the Full Sail, that was a different level of politicking. That's a different problem. And we know that they outgrew Full Sail. So I wasn't surprised that they didn't go back there after the during COVID and stuff. But now that they've outgrown the Performance Center, it is kind of like, hey, I would like to see them, step it up. They've elevated. They're moving in the right direction. Cool. Let's get bigger. I don't know why couldn't they have had the same event at one of the Thomas and Mack Center in Vegas? They don't have to rent the most expensive one. They don't have to rent the biggest one. They don't have to have it at the Sphere or something like that. But I'm not entirely sure why it was just at the UFC Apex when they could have really made this a bigger cross promotion type of a deal with the set design and all that good stuff too at a bigger venue.
I again, to play devil's advocate, you start somewhere. First of all, to understand that the UFC
anywhere somewhere, but why start there? When we know that WWE is big on spectacle,
right? Because one is it's NXT's first time running in Vegas, and then two, because under the TKO banner, you have access to this arena. I don't know what else was booked this weekend. I don't know what the alignment of schedules and availability is. So maybe this was a sample of saying, if we run it in this venue, how will we do? If we run it, right off the strip, how will people come? I think it's a use case that has low risk, high reward. And then yes, you come back to your point and you say, we sold that baby out without any issues. We built the arena. What could we do next? And yes, then you start to say, it's Vegas. What do you mean? What can we do next? You have monumentally options across the board. So, again, low risk, high reward. And that's why I think they juiced the card in the way they did. You have the TNA, Knockouts champion and Jordan Grace against Roxanne Perez. That's a big historical move there. Apex Arena. You have UFC legends show up in the crowd, acknowledge them. You give a little action panning shot through the arena. You make it feel big. And in fact, people watched it. 1,000 people, I had no clue because until I looked it up. You're right. It holds 1,000 people, but because of the experience and watching, you're like 1,000, 10, 2 million doesn't matter. Everybody, it was packed and everybody was having a good time and they put together a good card. So
should have got a Bridgeport. Bring it back home.
But let me put this spin on it too. So could this be?
Is that the last NXT show you've been to?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So let me put this spin on it too. Could it be a situation where you have the performance centers on the East Coast? Could you build that up, man? Like say, okay, you do it for UFC, but let it be like a performance center West for NXT on the West Coast, where or the West side, for what you need to do to build up your talent. Because I know you got talent that you're trying to pull from different areas. Could you have it where you have an extension of the NXT brand?
It's still UFC's building. It's just the fact of like multi-purpose in it. I mean, the real question that you should be thinking about is, will the UFC think, could we use the Performance Center to run an event?
Very true.
Could that be our East Coast sort of establishment when we're not running a smaller, our smaller fight nights in Vegas? Could we do it in Orlando? Is this a good trade-off here? I don't know what the business logistics is, but again, under the TKO brand, I wouldn't say it's off limits.
What events do they run at the Apex? Is it just a training place, or do they actually run live shows there?
So they will run. So during the pandemic, they ran their UFC events, and they also run their fight nights. Obviously, the UFC events are like the big ones: UFC number. The fight nights are fight nights single number or double number at this rate now. So the smaller tier of the ones, not the pay-per-view quality, but still a big important fight of some significance. Ultimate Fighters also ran through there as well too. So you have training, and you also have you could say almost medium high profile match there. Okay. So yeah,
it really is the Performance Center then.
The Performance Center is in Full Sail mixed, is what I will put it.
Got it.
You know what I mean? So yeah, and again, that's why I think it's like a good trade-off. If you say, all right, well, can the UFC run something at the Performance Center, the state-of-the-art center? Obviously, we see that the UFC has a state-of-the-art center. Can we make this all make sense? And I actually think too, it will be interesting if you heard the UFC for the first time ever is running a UFC Fight Night 29 at the WWE Performance Center, and then you have some WWE people in the crowd. They show accolades or whatever inside of it. This way to bring the combat sports communities together, like little stuff like that. And I'm sure that's what they're probably looking at and saying, what was the interest from the combat sports side of things? Well, how much coverage did this get from the combat sports of things, And again, with them overloading the crowd with Ethan Page being there, which is, a household name, Sexy Red opening it up, Jordan Grace, the UFC legends, Las Vegas. That's a lot of like buzzwords for you to check it out,
Fair enough. Now, on the other side of that, now that they've done this and moving forward past that, do you think we see maybe not necessarily the UFC numbered weekends and a WWE pay-per-view, but do you think we see a smaller version of that where they have maybe not a double header, but a complete package weekend where like maybe they do UFC Fight Night on Friday and then the NXT pay-per-view on Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday, or something like that?
You might get a taste of that in WrestleMania in April, so the WrestleMania weekend's coming up. You might even extend it to Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday if you want to use the Apex Arena for something. I think it's very possible.
Yeah, this definitely does seem like this could be the litmus test for, a bigger event between both of them, since they definitely have broken out in a rash of co-branding and collusion and the prohibited portal or whatever the hell they're trying to call it with other companies. And, that is interesting, but it also seems like if you know that you're going to make a splash in a company that's known for making the biggest splash, why wouldn't you go big or go home, which has been the WWE way since day one? But I understand that it is a test. And if they fail, they would rather fall short than fail hard.
And I believe, like, if we think years back in NXT Prime, you talked about like the idea of wanting to go smaller before you ultimately try to go before you overexpand. And that's been, especially on the independent level, that's been a lot of independent promotions whole demise.
Yeah.
Wrestle Circus, that one in Jersey.
Wrestle Circus had other problems.
Yeah, but still.
And Capital Wrestling had other problems.
That's not even the one. What was the one? I always reference it. We need to get the name pool. The one that had like all of the ex WWE talent, and also that other promotion that tried to run all those talent across seas too. Those two promotions.
Yeah.
The one in Jersey had Mojo Raleigh, Moose, like just whoever was just released. They're like, we'll take all of them. I'm like, right. How is your first show taking all of these folks? Like they had like the Game Shark codes in terms of acquiring independent wrestlers.
That's a throwback.
But yeah, I think, good for them. And obviously it would be interesting if like this opens up the doors for more possibility. For one, TNA runs all day, every day in Vegas, and they're way down the strip into no man's land where I have no desire to watch a show. The UFC Apex Arena, not that far, notable name. attractive name at that. Could TNA actually try to get in bed with the UFC to run a venue there now that they've seen what it can do? 1,000 people for a TNA show seems very on par. You know what I mean? And obviously now that everybody's talking, everybody's buddies here. I mean, we heard TNA, WWE, and UFC all in one night on the same show. Why not? Why not? Let me get to some comments really quick. My man Mike, I love the Big Go Bell podcast. Appreciate you, Brody. Trent Hatchet, I wonder who in TNA would show up in the NXT 25 man battle royal. Let's talk about that 1 second. And obviously the homie here, day one homie, my buddy Adrian, evening fellas. I like WWE doing different things right now and cross branding. The Apex Center was great, different venue. I'm down for them to just do arena shows for PLE. And like Sellers, to your point, think about what they're doing on the main rosters. First of all, when you talk about Royal Rumble and SummerSlam, they have been targeting not only just outdoor venues, but particular styling of venues. Like the Royal Rumble has been in nothing but baseball arenas in the last few years, which is still to this day, which I'm, unfortunate wasn't able to go, but still to this day, I keep thinking like, man, I can't believe they turned, what's the name of the arena in Phoenix, Jamal?
Chase Field.
The fact of how they were able to convert that was kind of just mind blowing. So I love that there's like sort of like a management synergy where everybody's like, we want to try something different.
Yep.
So if NXT is trying stuff different, I'm curious to see what they target next. I like your idea of like, can they run something in the mall?
Yeah.
Who knows? But hell, one of my favorite ones? Take me to the beach. Give me Bash at the beach on the beach.
At the beach. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let's run it back, stuff like that. And then obviously WWE is going to keep hitting different territories, different countries, and so on. So, all right. But anyway, let's talk a little bit more about Battleground. So, Jordan Grace and Roxanne Perez.
Yes.
This is the start. This is the continuation of a good relationship between WWE and TNA. Do we agree there? Everything looks good so far?
So far, but I do have a concern. But keep going with your point though.
Yeah. So Jordan Grace has had now 2 really good showings. And we've been fans of hers for day one. I mean, when she was like one of the youngest premier wrestlers on the indies, and getting out there and just honing her craft, and then now she's just a freakness, because that's exactly what she is, a fitness freak, because she does. I mean, the power speaks for itself. And for as much as the WWE promotes Bianca Belair and Jade as being like, that caliber of talent and strength, Jordan sits right in that conversation. We got to see the display on that every weekend in the Impact Zone, but ultimately in the Royal Rumble, and then now at Battleground. And it doesn't seem like this relationship's done, because in TNA there's an open challenge. We also seen that there was, which I did not agree with the ending of the match, because I think they should have just let the ladies do what they did and just let it be. But I understand it was important because you had to let the fans know this is not over, and that I'm cool with. So for what it's worth, understanding the interruption at the end of the match where we have formerly known as Dana Brooke coming in and what's her name, Paxley there as well too. We see that there's possibilities for more. As we've seen in the comments by Trent Hackett, we also see that TNA that there's a 25-man Battle Royal for Trick Williams, the number one contender for Trick Williams championship, which we were told that this would involve folks from other locker rooms. So now we have the utmost possibilities of things. We did get swindled with Wesley, where we thought the Rascals was going to come, but there still may be a possibility for that as well. So with that being said, to assess Battleground and ultimately the relationship with TNA, are we still in good standards? Are we still hopeful for more of this crossover or branding relationships? How does it have to work? How do you want to see it? Are they going down the right path? Is it interesting you? Is anybody ready to buy some tickets? Because we may be looking at a historical show coming forward at a future date. What are y'all thinking?
Go ahead, Marcellus.
I just have one. First of all, I am excited. I am hopeful, but I have one major concern. Now, for any relationships that WWE has, when you're talking about another brand coordinating or setting up some dream matchups within the WWE platform, the finishes always bother me when I don't think they try to take that risk and having somebody outside of the organization win. You kind of set it up where you said you didn't like how the ending was, and I did have a problem with the ending too. Yes, it shows some continuation, but what would happen if Jordan would have won that match? I think that would be a bigger level where you take that risk of saying, wow, this person came from TNA or wherever they come from. They come into a match on the WWE platform, which was NXT from this past weekend on Sunday, and she won. I need to see some type of shock value of what would happen in that case. And let's say if the belt was on the line and winner takes all, and you have somebody from TNA wins that women's NXT title. What do you do? What type of intrigue, what type of communication, what type of conversation we'll have with that? I want to see that risk taken where somebody outside of WWE takes that win. And this is like another time where I'm not seeing that risk being taken. And I want to see what they really can do with it to build that story, to stretch that eyes of kayfabe to see where it would go. I just want to see it happen one time.
So you know why that's not going to happen? Because WWE has the leverage. They want to keep the leverage. They need to maintain that that leverage in the relationship with whoever they deal with as a partner. Mm-hmm. It is not a partnership. They are Nino Brown, and this is bigger than the CMB. Make no mistake about it. Seeing a WWE product, especially a championship, on another person's television show, anyway, does not balance the leverage between them and their partner in the favor of WWE. It makes that show that much more popular because now we need to go there to see what happens. What does WWE get out of that side of the equation? They don't, nothing that they can't eat, that they need, nothing that they can use. So as we talked about last week, having Jordan Grace win the championship would have been interesting. It would have been a shock. It would have been a surprise. How could WWE manage the show without their champion? That's crazy. Would they dare suggest that people enter the Impact Zone to find out what their champion is doing? Hell no. And I don't see that happens. So Roxanne winning as the Chicken Shit Hill champion, the way that she does win, does make a lot more sense on WWE's part, as they are the ones that are driving the story, control of the narrative. See what happens when you do that? And leading the way in their part. They are the ones that are holding TNA's hand, and it's not the other way around. Now, does that mean that the door is closed? No. Because of the way that it happened, they gave TNA an out. Now if you choose to follow what Jordan Grace is doing, if you choose to follow what Roxanne is doing, okay, cool, but it's not over. The door isn't closed. It's not closed and locked. It may be closed for now, but the thing is that there must be some retribution for the heel. The bad guys can't just win outright. So she ain't Razor Ramon. So because of that, we will see something down the line. They do have a big pay-per-view coming up in Toronto and a part of Money in the Bank weekend. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they're going to have to do something during SummerSlam. Not sure what that's going to be, but that's going to be a thing for NXT at some point and around that time. So there's still opportunities for them to intersect. And I think that's where we'll see that.
Yeah, the business aspect of it is always the part that makes our personal fan desires impossible. And I agree. As much as I don't want to agree, it's the business, Mm-hmm. So yeah, of course you love the idea. Who doesn't, fan or not? Who doesn't want to see something that hasn't been done before? Listen, Mickie James coming out to the Royal Rumble with the Impact Knockouts Championship at the time, and then Jordan Grace coming out with the TNA Knockouts Championship, and they're getting the banner, the call out. You're like, I never thought this would have ever happened. On the other hand, too, like you also got AEW doing relationship with everybody. And like and go back to TNA and Kenny Omega and all these other things. We want to continue to see things that we haven't seen before.
Yep.
Feel me?
Yep.
TNA doing business with NXT. This is obviously new, never been done. If there was a person contracted to whatever the respective brand having the title of the other person's, obviously we'll be talking a whole different conversation right now. But business is business. And also this new relationship is still in the honeymoon phase. So I think there must be some type of like, along with the business and how everybody can benefit from it, they got to also get on the same page if we're telling stories, because that's what it is. You know, us Marvel fans or DC fans, you don't get those crossover episodes in the first episode. Especially if you ever cross over with multiple shows, you get it in like the 5th or 6th episode, and you got to sync that the writers are on the same page, where it's like, hey, we're pivoting to this crossover on this episode. You got to be ready too. And I think that's got to probably be some more of the understanding that has to be discussed in order to do such, because let's just say Jordan Grace did win. What's the plan next for NXT? Oh, because I know a fan would say, oh, she just goes over there and face it. That's not intriguing, nor does it have value to the WWE. Mm-hmm. You have to figure out, how does this make sense for everybody? Ratings are still very much a thing because everybody's answering to some boss at some network wanting to make sure, like, hey, hold on now. Because, you know, at the end of the day, the corporate people inside these studios companies are probably looking at TNA as like, wait, what network are they on? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, okay, we'll let y'all try this out and we'll see what it happens, but don't tank our image by being in bed with, you know what I mean? So,
yep. Right. And just think about it this way: on the poster for NXT Battleground, you have the NXT logo, obviously. You have the UFC logo in a pretty decent sized font, and you have the TNA champion on the poster.
Yep. On Peacock too, that was on that, you know.
Right. So when you talk about, you know, what's in it for everybody else, these are the subtle things. We're not going to come out and saying and gift basket you a thing, but what we will do is give you a hug and a handshake, and that's what this is so far right now. Mm-hmm. How much will they get in bed with anybody? Now, granted, this is not a big deal if you follow the indies. This is not a big deal if you watch, you know, wrestling in Japan or Southeast Asia or Mexico. This happens every week. It's not a problem. It's just that WWE in their 75-year history hasn't done anything like this in, Will would know the exact date, but I'm going to say 30, 40 years. I mean, we got to go back to like 1990 Hulk Hogan and All Japan to see, you know, something like that happen, where you bring or AAA in WWE in like 93 or something like that, to see something like this happen on a meaningful way, involving prominent, you know, people in a position of prominence. Mm-hmm. You know, and it still is the testing phase for WWE, who has been skittish, to say the least, in the past several decades to work with anybody. They built their brand on being an isolationist rogue state like North Korea.
Yeah.
You know, they are the universe. They have literally been telling you that for the past 10 years. They are the universe.
And like, you know, let's call it for what it's worth. Like Nakamura having a match with the Great Muta in Pro Wrestling Noah in the beginning of the year was a cool thing, but it also still didn't get this level of like synergy on all ends. Yes, they will acknowledge that it happened. I think they probably showed like a quick 3-second clip or whatnot, but like there was effort here in terms of wanting to build Jordan Grace as a legitimate character and wrestler on WWE programming. You know, she wasn't just thrown in like, Jordan Grace is here, everybody. She's a big deal. Trust me. No, they showed you that. They gave her a match on NXT, the Royal Rumble. Like, they're legitimately building up her attributes in WWE. And then obviously having a championship is something to be respected, you know? So yeah, this is without a doubt the first time that I feel like in a very long time, at least without my Will knowledge here, that they've done something like this. So
we need the encyclopedia. Will, where you at?
And on that note, before we get to our break here, also the news of Io Sky going to Marigo for the Joshi match as well too is to be watched, because again, this is two brands working together. You're like, oh my God, big deal. But how is this being handled? Will we see anything on Raw that shows you that EO going to this other promotion as a thing? Or it happens, they show a clip, says she did it, and she's just back to her WWE stuff, So it's interesting. We gotta talk maybe a little bit more, because that 25-man battle royal, I want to hear y'all thoughts about that. Yep. Jamal, are you ready for break?
Sure. I just work here, man. You
hit the button, the right one this time.
Yeah, no more intros.
Hit the intro one more time, folks. I'll be right back for our commercial break, and we'll be back on the other end without any spotlight.
If you're looking to expand your podcast reach, your website reach, as well as your social media branding, visit BigGoldBelt.com for sponsorship and advertising opportunities. Big Gold Belt Media is the golden standard for all of your media needs. We offer pre-roll and mid-roll ad spots, on-air host reads done by yours truly, Damian G, on audio as well as video platforms. For inquiries, please email biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com for more information. Again, that's biggoldbeltgroup@gmail.com for your inquiries for your business. Big Gold Belt Media, wrestling, movie, comics, and more. The golden standard.
All right. Back after the break now. Time to turn our attentions to that thing we've been talking about half this show as well, too, is the independents.
Yep. So it's the Indie Spotlight, and I'm going to give you a thing. First of all, before I get to the actual Indie Spotlight for this week, selfishly, I do want to say that AEW is coming to Fairfax for the first time, bigging up some local wrestling in our area. They are bringing Dynamite and Rampage to the Eagle Bank Arena. There's the stately Eagle Bank Arena out there in majestic Fairfax, Virginia, the mecca of wrestling in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. The home of the George Mason and Patriots, don't you know? They are having Dynamite and Rampage June 19th. That's at 7:30 p.m. That's I want to say that's next Wednesday. 7:30. Tickets start at $20. That'll get you in the door. Tickets are going. I don't want to say going fast, but they are going. So you can definitely get your tickets to Ticketmaster. So good luck getting out after the event. But AEW, Dynamite and Rampage out there at the bank in Fairfax. Also, you have Capital Collision, New Japan. We've talked about them for a minute. They're coming back to DC proper at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in the beautiful grounds of St. Elizabeth's Mental Health Hospital. That will never not be funny to me. If you know, you know. But tickets go on sale tomorrow, June 14th at 12 p.m. Eastern time. You get your tickets to Ticketmaster. That's in New Japan's Capital Collision at St. Elizabeth's at August 30th. That's a Friday. So New Japan is coming to town. So that's interesting. As far as the independent spotlight for this week, we're going to Toronto. One of the things that's kind of cool about this card and this promotion, Smash Wrestling is one of my favorite indie promotions in North America. Usually a lot of good talent run through that area of Toronto and Southern Ontario, but they're having a show, Put Up or Shut Up, and that's June 30th. June 30th at the Rec Room, which is right down in the Distillery District, right next to Rogers Center in downtown Toronto. Okay, cool. That's also the night of Forbidden Door. So doors open at 3, bell time is at 4, and the show will wrap up before Forbidden Door starts because they're going to air the pre-show and the pay-per-view live after their show ends on the big screens at the Rec Room. It's a pretty decent venue. You can watch the pay-per-view for free with your ticket to the Smash Wrestling event. Motor City Machine Gun's going to be in the building. Daniel Makabe is going to be in the building. Kevin Blackwood in the building. So a solid card. Like the talent, like the company. The Rec Room is actually a pretty fine place for wrestling, and it's right down the street from the Air Canada Center and right across the street from Rogers Center next to Union Station. So it's in the middle of everything in downtown Toronto, and you can make it a twofer. See the wrestling at Smash Wrestling, stay for Forbidden Door, which is going to be live in New York. But yeah, it's going to be a party in downtown Toronto for Smash Wrestling. You can get your tickets at showclicks.com/event/Smash Wrestling, or you can pick up all your information on the Twitter machine at Smash Wrestling on Twitter and other social medias. And that's the Indie Spotlight for this week.
Awesome. Always appreciate you. All right, so 25-man Battle Royal for NXT. Who do you think shows up and why?
I'm going to say one off the bat. I think this is a great opportunity for young talent to come on TNA so they can have a wider audience for this. And I'm going to go with my guy, Kevin Knight, Jet Knight. I think this would be a perfect opportunity for him, expose what he's doing, because he's been on a rocket ship from New Japan to TNA. And, of course, I have a special affiliation to him, so I'm a little bit partial, of course, to the interview here for him. But I think this would be a great opportunity for Jet Knight to be on there just to showcase what he can do and how he can mesh in the WWE world and build him up in TNA or whatever he sees on his next step.
All right. I hate Battle Royals because they do nothing for me. I also think they do nothing for talent because you have everybody in the ring at one time and it doesn't truly give the opportunities for folks to shine. That's just my thoughts. But to that point, certain people and gimmicks work. And without a doubt, I think would be in their best benefit to ensure that Joe Hendry is in there and he gets the crowd hot. You know, doesn't need to win, doesn't need to even be near the final, whatever, you know, just let him get in there and do his thing. So that would be cool.
Jamal's favorite wrestler.
One of them. I actually don't mind a good battle royal because of the fact that it's a good way to highlight people without giving them a full-fledged match. You're kind of just like clipping off the beginning and the end of a match, give them a couple spots, and then they can go. Kofi's made a career out of that. And then, of course, the Final Four, that's all you really need to know, who's going to be in the Final Four, who lasts the longest, all of those questions that you get to ask and answer. So you do get to shine a light of a lot of people without giving them the full mock-up. With that said, though, obviously Joe Hendry would be one of the guys that I would like to see. Gresham, of course, I'm a mark for Gresham. But if it's not Speedball Mike Bailey, I don't know what we're doing here. Like, I don't know. If you are TNA, if you're Hootie and the boys, you need to send your best, but you also need to send the best that WWE hasn't seen. So sending them Nick Nemeth doesn't work. Sending them, Moose, not that he's been in WWE before, but, we don't need Moose there. We don't need Matt Cardona there, even though I think he's injured. We definitely don't need AJ Francis there, or Fandango, or, there's a lot of guys that you don't need to send. But I do believe that they do have a decent young roster. The Decay, Eddie Edwards would be cool. Obviously Gresham, obviously Josh Alexander.
That's who really needs to be in there, honestly, right. with a purpose at that.
Right. It would be interesting to see, for the nostalgia, Rhino pop up, maybe. Go ahead.
I will say this though. To be on the WWE side, though, you got to protect your man. You got to protect Trick because Trick has a certain style. And yeah, he's worked Ilya, who is, one of the best pound for pound wrestlers out there, and his style definitely works with a lot of different folks. But I don't think that necessarily helped Trick in terms of like his wrestling. So the names like Josh and Speedball, they're gonna crash them. They might wrestle circles in this, man, and that's definitely not what you want.
You're thinking about it as a wrestling match when this is just a spot fest in the battle.
No, for sure. But if these guys are in there and they're somewhere near in the breath of wanting to win, if they do decide to pull the trigger and say these are we want somebody that we want to send to, further the business and ultimately win. These are attractive names that should and could win, but you definitely don't want that to happen as WWE. And I honestly. I just think based on how they're booking their champions, I don't think they're going to pull somebody just out of their locker room. They're not going to just all of a sudden like give Wesley a championship match or anybody out of the NIL or Abafemi promote him or sorts. I think this is once again going to become like a prize fight, and they're going to try to find an attractive person to enter the Royal Rumble or the Battle Royal and to potentially win it?
So let me ask this. Let's get an over under here. Over under 7.5 TNA talent in this out of the 25. How many do we see?
Under 7. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, 3. I'm very friendly around 3, but I feel 1 to 2. 1 to 2.
Okay. I think 7 is bananas. And I'd say that 7.5, that's unhinged level.
But honestly, do we have, and I mean this in a respectful way, do we have 20 legitimate candidates that you see could be in this battle royal against
Raw and SmackDown?
No, from NXT. I'm thinking nobody from Raw and SmackDown will probably be there.
Absolutely, 100% that they take a B or C level guy from Raw and SmackDown.
Okay. And there goes the draft right there. Just that quick. There goes the draft. Hey, but let's get to the next topic because I realize how much time we spent on this. Ricochet contract is to expire in the beginning of July, so in just a few weeks. It looks like he's going to be off TV some time because he was put through a windshield on Raw by Braun Breaker, and and all the rumor mills, everybody's reporting and whatnot, and it's expected for him to leave. People have been sending sentiments about how good of a talent he is, and he's engaging very gingerly. Does he leave? If he leaves, are you excited? Where does he go? What is your thoughts? And I got like the most basic answer to this. So we ain't gonna spend a lot of time, but Jamal, what's your thoughts about Ricochet potentially leaving WWE?
I like Ricochet. I like what he brings. I think that obviously he could step into a lot of different locker rooms and be a game changer for a lot of different locker rooms. And I would have been very excited for him to be in AEW 3 years ago. But realistically, do I want him to leave? Obviously, I think that he would be better off somewhere else. Where does he go? When does he get there? Do I really care? Unfortunately, the Ricochet that I wanted isn't the Ricochet that we have nowadays, and maybe he's a product of his own success because there are a bunch of guys that can be Ricochet at age 18, 19, 20, 21 than the Ricochet that we have now. I mean,
he's still the best. He's still the best high flyer of all time.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There's ain't no way I would say that. But no, that's unhinged. That's like saying there's going to be over 8 guys from TNA in the NXT Battle Royal. That is batshit crazy.
What Ricochet can do in the air and the innovation in the air, by all means, bar none, is the best high flyer in all of pro wrestling of all time. He's not the best luchador. He's not the best cruiserweight. He's not the best person under 205. No. But what that guy can do in the air has bred a generation of folks to say, I want to be that guy. It is as far, I would correlate his impact to wrestling as Pharrell is to pop culture, where folks took his style, his look, all these sorts of different brands that people done took his swag over the years. The backpack era, the Baby Nape era, all those sorts of different things that came from Pharrell. You got to give it where the credit is due. No, you won't say like he's the best dress of all time. He's the best fashion person of all time. But the impact that he put out there, without a doubt, it's not even close.
I can't unsee it now. Ricochet is Pharrell. I can't unsee it now.
0 people said that Ricochet hasn't made an impact or he hasn't deserved kudos for his longevity in the business and what he's been able to do in the business. What I said is that he is not the best high flyer of all time. And we can fundamentally disagree on that, and that's fine. But no, he ain't it. With that said, though, because of that, because there's so many guys like him, to your point, based on what he's been able to do in his legacy, unfortunately, that's kind of passed him by. He's kind of passé now. So, yeah, I would love to see Ricochet, but there's already Dante Martin. I would love to see Ricochet, but there's already Myron Reed. I would love to see Ricochet, but there's already a bunch of different guys that I can name from all of the different independent companies and all around the world and stuff like that. So do I need him? A few years ago in AEW, I would have said yes. Today is not that day. And I say I wish him well in his future endeavors.
For me, I think he just needs some time away. but I think he comes back to WWE. I really think there's no other place that is there for him but WWE. But it's just amazing to see, because just thinking about back when kind of Ricochet first got to WWE and 2 Chainz, you were there where you had a nice little conversation with him in New Orleans when he was just like venturing on NXT when he was beginning on that.
Wait, I forgot all about that.
Yeah, it was.
You see how memorable he is?
Yeah.
I just forgot about that.
Like, you had a real long conversation with him when he first got into NXT.
Yeah.
But it just seems like, to me, I don't think WWE knew exactly what to do with him at that next level. He's been very consistent what he's done. He's very consistent in the opportunities he's had, but I just don't know at this age or where he is in his career if he'll get that opportunity to rebuild himself to be a top player. But I think he remains in WWE after some time away.
Let me read some comments before I let y'all get at me again. 5 at the most is where Adrian's sitting at for the number of TNA folks inside.
Arco, race it to 7 to 8. Arco, come on, man. Do it for me. Do it for me.
New to this world. I think Ricochet would be best suited to be for an indie run and leads into the G1 Climax showing. After 1 or 2 years of showing, he'll have the world in his palms. Can't disagree here. Ricochet is winning at life. I got a comment about that. And coming back to new to this world, Ricochet on AEW will be sad because I see them booking him good for about 3 weeks, and then he'll be on and off TV in Collision. Yep, totally agree. The new car syndrome. Ricochet, first of all, to your comments, Rey Mysterio is still a very important character on television, and his style has had to change many times over the years.
He's 70 years old. It better.
Sure, he still wrestles. He still wrestles very effectively. He had to change his style, and for what it's worth, Rey Mysterio has stayed predominantly healthy. Ricochet has stayed predominantly healthy. I think he's able to still work a very safe program, but I think he could reach into his bag of tricks when he needs to. I think just like Pac. I think Pac is one of those people that, like, if he really wants to show out, he can turn up at any point. But I think he wrestles a very safe style of wrestling. I think Ricochet definitely needs to take the time and to be missed, and let them come up with something creatively to bring him back, because he's a hot commodity. I think, kids like him, they build him as a superhero. He does superhero things. I think he's very easily somebody that you put some good merch with, you give him some good programming, he can move some stuff and make them some money. But forget all that, because this is what I tweeted earlier, and this is what I really think it is. My man is about to get married. So why not have the opportunity to spend some extra time with your wife, not happen to be wrestling around, let the body heal up a little bit? I think it's a absolutely golden opportunity for them to be able to focus a little bit on their personal life. And, good for Ricochet, because, this is a guy that dated Tessa Blanchard at one time, and and then what's her name? What is her name now? Because they done switched her name so many different times. Katana Chance, the Ninja Warrior chick, can't think of her name, but he dated her. So good for my man that finally found love in the wrestling industry. Got Samantha Irvin.
This is going to be a stupid question, but who is he engaged to?
Samantha Irvin.
The ring announcer?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, good for him to be able to take some time to possibly focus on that and let the body heal and then let him be desired. The price only goes up with the competition out there. He doesn't need to go on the indies. He's already worked everything. Let's not forget that he's one of the, if you ask me, he's one of the pillars for PWG. And to go out there to do what? Work a death match? GCW? He's already worked Japan. He's done Lucha Underground. Where's the value at this rate for him? Who has something that benefits him? And Jamal, to your analogy too, it's kind of like when Allen Iverson was slowly but surely leaving out of the league. And at one point, he said Allen Iverson is the best ball handler you've ever seen. And then more folks came about, and then there's Kyrie Irving out here right now, who you would say, yeah, he's definitely the best ball handler in the league, but that's the disservice to Allen Iverson, who was the person that really, really changed the game at that position. So I think Ricochet becomes that person where it's like he's obviously a benefit to anyone's locker room. But yeah, there's definitely people doing it better. One thing about Ricochet, though, he stays healthy. That Dante Martin comparison, I'd rather have Ricochet. I know the age is probably a factor, but at least I know Ricochet showing up every night. And so, I think he'll be a great value to any locker room. And man, when he becomes a coach, that it's going to be like it would be like one of like the Serena Deebs or the Mercedes Martinez, one of those folks being in the locker room, the Lufistos, somebody that you like. They will absolutely develop this next generation given the chance.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. And again, this is not like to say that Ricochet just needs to go on a final run before he retires or whatever. Like, no, he doesn't have to do that. Rey Mysterio is 87 years old and he's still getting it done. So Ricochet definitely has as much in the tank as he's willing to go forward with it. It's just about really where does he fit in, and as far as jumping out of one situation into another situation when the pickings aren't really slim on the WWE level, I don't know if that's where it is for him. Obviously, the indies are always a thing there, but what I really hope, what I want to see actually, because I think Mustafa Ali has set the bar as to how you leave WWE. You got to give me a reason to want to follow you. You got to go into business for yourself.
I like that idea.
And you got to reintroduce yourself to the masses. So hopefully, let's say that he is done and he comes back as whoever he wants us to think that he is. We can obviously say what he's done, where he's been. We can rank him. We can de-rank him or whatever the case may be. But realistically, right now, this is where you are today. Why should I care about you tomorrow? And I hope that, whatever, and we'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But I really hope that that's what the situation is. Get in touch with Ali's videographer and get it done.
His videographer, his PR team, everything, because
and get that done.
They figured it out the way.
Now, realistically, for me, selfishly, if he pops up in Uganda, at soft ground, I'm staying up late for that one. But that's the thing. I'll give me a reason to care.
Hey, shout out to Cody Rhodes gifting them a ring, but completely messing up their gimmick. You can't be soft ground wrestling if you ain't on the soft ground, all right? But shout out to just the world of pro wrestling, man. What a crazy time that these folks went out there each and every week, drew the attention of major stars and talent, ultimately getting a ring gifted to them by the WWE champion in Cody Rhodes. I mean, if that ain't the epitome of betting on yourself, I don't know what it is. So good for them. And sucks for us because I damn sure was thinking about what is the wildest chance that we could go see a soft ground wrestling match. Do they have tickets? Or do you just show up and you out there? And also, who the hell is their cinematographer?
So I don't think their shows are actually open to the public. I think that they just have people that just be out there and they do their show, they do their matches, and they do them in like 3-minute like TikTok thing. So soft ground walk so that WWE Speed can run.
I'm done.
All right, last little thing of the night. WWE Clash at the Castle is this weekend. Clash at the Castle, Scotland. Yeah, definitely. Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre for the World Heavyweight Championship. Bayley, Piper Niven for the WWE Women's Championship, and Sami Zayn, Chad Gable for the Intercontinental. Cody Rhodes, AJ Styles for Undisputed WWE Championship. Bianca Belair and Jay versus Alba Fire, Ala Dawn, Shayna Baszler, Zoe Starks. For everything that WWE has been able to accomplish with these PLEs in these very deprived territories in terms of getting wrestling shows, but they come out as deprived that they are, hungry as hell and showing up and showing out. So very excited and happy for them to be able to get Clash at the Castle returning again for its now second year. What is everybody's expectations? Is there a certain component of the crowd and the audience attendance you're looking forward to? Any of these matches you think could be Could we see a title change of any sorts, or just overall, what's your thoughts about everything in terms of this PLE this Saturday?
There's only one thing I really care about, because we're expecting the crowd's going to be hot and heavy for this show for sure. But I want this Chad Gable story to continue. I want him to win this title, because I think you're seeing Kurt Angle 2.0 extreme, go in front of our eyes. And I really love what they're doing with Chad Gable's character. I think this is a long time coming of him getting to this mark, and him having this singles title run is going to be something that's going to be great to elevate him. I'm loving everything he's doing right now.
I'm just gonna make it quick. There really isn't anything about the show that seems interesting. There are only 5 matches. I looked through the card. I don't really see a reason to stay home and watch it. Yes, it is a Saturday afternoon. Okay, cool, but I'll probably check it out later if I do it all. As far as the show itself, the presentation, they're not in Wales anymore. They're going to Scotland, and they're going to be in an arena and not in the soccer stadium. For those that care about the aesthetics of the show, do you think that will have an impact on what the show will be, or will it not really matter, because European fans are rabid for WWE for a number of reasons, most of them logistical, but it's are we based on NXT Backlash in Lyon, France? Do you think that that not having 55,000 people in the stadium and shrinking that down to 14,000, will that make a difference in how you perceive the show?
Yeah,
I mean, and obviously the answer could be probably not, because the card has to be good. But coming off the heels of Backlash and the original Clash of the Castle, this scaled down event could definitely seem lacking, in a way.
Yeah, I still think it's gonna be hot, but good fair point. But I still think it's gonna be a hot crowd. And
right.
Tomorrow there'll be SmackDown, will be recorded /live there, recorded here, live there. But I think it's gonna be a hot crowd for SmackDown and Saturday's event.
Yeah, I feel like all these new places, or not new places, but just these places, deprived places, should we say? I think everybody's looking out here to prove a point, make a statement, state a claim that they are deserving to have more and more shows there. So I absolutely expect them to be so hot that I think they're going to try to hijack the show. And that is for the viewers. I mean, I don't know. It depends. It could be good or bad, depending on which you sort of desire. But yeah, I need Gable to get the win here. And I also think Drew winning. I think it's about time. I think there's been reasons why he should win. I also think there's some contractual things why he's going to win. I mean, he just got re-signed. Gable is also another person that they said contract is coming up. So I think him winning or losing will be a discussion for us very soon, in the likes of how we talked about Ricochet. So I don't know. We'll see. If I'm around during the day, it's still my Saturday, I like to enjoy myself. But if I'm around, I'll stop through five matches during the day, get in and get out. But we'll see what happens. But yeah, Clash at the Castle, Scotland, this Saturday, and we'll be back next week to definitely talk about that. Gentlemen, is it time to roll out? Are we done?
Yes.
Yeah, just couple of things for me. Just shout out, as we're ending, educators, school years, and then another year. So if you had a successful year, definitely wish you the best. Get some rest as you come back in the fall. And definitely for Sunday, for those who are fathers out there or serving in the role of fathers, happy Father's Day too.
Yeah. All right.
See ya. Bye.
No, I'm just playing. Let's hit the outro. See y'all back next week. We're live each and every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, across all socials. Also, follow us at Big Go Belt on all socials, and you can check out the live streams on all streaming platforms at YouTube. About to say Twitch, and also you can just go to www.biggobelt.com/live, and that will get you to the live video. We had a lot of people show up by viewership, we can see here, but I definitely encourage you all, be a part of the conversation. Get in the comments, the chat, whatever it may be, and let us know your thoughts about all of our topics. We'll love to be able to interact with you all, read your comments and so on. We highly appreciate for the folks who come through each and every week thus far. But yeah, till next Thursday. And my crazy internet right now keep freezing me up. I don't know what's going on. We'll work that out. But for the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast for Soft Ground Wrestling, we out.